how you explain what he's done and said in the past month. If you wanted to end the war, then why are you only beating up on and bad-mouthing and lying about the country that was invaded? Lying, Pierce, that Ukraine started this war. I'm coming to you today, Pierce. The UN just passed a resolution earlier today on the 3-year anniversary calling on Russia to simply withdraw from sovereign Ukraine. The United States of America voted against that UN resolution. Think about that. The United States joined Russia and North Korea in voting against a simple resolution that says, Russia, get out of sovereign Ukraine. Every freedom democratic country in the world voted for that resolution.
You know why America has voted against it? It's because they know it's not going to happen. And they are trying, Trump is trying, and I believe this, I think he is a guy who prefers peace to war. I think he proved that in his first term. So regardless of the rhetoric, which I think is very unfortunate, I do think that the idea that America right now in this process is going to suddenly vote with the UN, which they feel is pretty discredited anyway, that they're going to vote with a UN resolution to kick Russia out, knowing it's not going to happen. How does that advance the cause of peace? It won't.
It won't. It's a resolution, nope. Pierce, honoring the 3rd-year anniversary of Putin's invasion. For the United States to simply say on the 3rd-year anniversary that it was wrong for Putin to invade and he ought to withdraw, that seems like a fairly easy thing for the United States of America to do. But Trump can't do that because he will not distance himself from Putin.
Well, hang on, Biden wouldn't have done it either.
I think he would have.
Really? I don't think so.
He would have.
I don't think so. But let me bring in Batia. I mean, Batia, look, we're at a very febrile moment in this whole war, but we could also be at the beginning of the end of the war. And if that is what is going on here, and there's a recognition on all sides, it's got to come to an end, and we're now just trying to work out how that happens. What is your feeling about the kind of settlement it looks like is on the table?
So, Piers, I so appreciate you being willing to admit this about Donald Trump, because you have been such a stalwart defender of the Ukraine, and yet you are 100% correct. Donald Trump hates war. He thinks it's totally wasteful. He thinks it's bad for business, and he wants this to end. You know, from the point of view of the American people, there has never been widespread support for this. The American people have never understood why this is our job to fund this. And I think Donald Trump expected when he came into office to find Zelensky the one eager to have this settled, and Putin the one sort of holding off and being recalcitrant. And when he found the opposite, and when he found Zelensky totally unwilling to do the most basic act of gratitude and give the United States a stake in these minerals, I think Trump got very angry about that. Now, I want to address something that I think I agree with people. It seems a little mysterious. I hear people saying this all the time. Why is he, demeaning Zelensky and building up Putin? I think the answer to that is because Donald Trump is a deal maker, and he does not view international relations the way that the liberal post-world order saw things. The Obama administration, the Biden administration, they have this view of diplomacy that you need to sort of have two equals at the table, or as equal as possible. And so if your ally is the one who is stronger, you got to bring them down a little. If the person that you're not dealing with is weak, you lift them up a little. You get people to an even playing field, and then you can make a deal. And I think Donald Trump sees things in the exact opposite way. He sees them from a real estate point of view. You're never going to get a deal if both sides have equal power. What you actually want is a power disparity, because then the weaker party has more of an incentive to compromise. And the stronger party is going to compromise as well, because they get to remain the stronger party. And I think he is playing Putin like a fiddle. He knows that if he goes out there and builds up Zelensky and makes Putin feel the exact same fears about NATO not being that buffer zone, and Ukraine not being a buffer zone, Ukraine being part of NATO, Putin will never come to the table. But if he says to Putin, I respect where you're coming from, I don't care about the history, I just want this to end, then that is what's going to get Putin to the table. And I think he assumed that because Ukraine has gotten $200 billion out of the American taxpayer, that they would be willing to come to the table too. And I think he's very upset that Zelensky has not turned out to be that way.
Okay, Cenk, you were laughing, but I mean, that could be entirely accurate.
That sounds accurate to me, guys. What do you guys think? Comment down below what you guys think about that. I think what she said was very accurate.
No, there's no chance that's accurate. Sorry about that. Okay, so look, at the beginning, this was a giant mystery. I didn't understand what was going on. I might have said this on your show, Piers. I was like, why would we be attacking our ally? Put aside the fact that they're our ally. It doesn't make any sense in negotiation. You want to put leverage on the opposing party, Russia, so that they are willing to get to a deal that we can live with and our ally can live with. Putting pressure on your own ally who's in the weaker position makes no logical sense in a negotiation ever. It's the exact opposite of what you're supposed to do. So putting aside any feelings about Zelensky and Russia, this isn't about that. Just in sheer negotiation, it makes no sense. Okay, so, but now I've solved it because it's clear now what's happening. Because they want the mineral rights. So he's putting pressure on Zelensky because he doesn't give a damn about what kind of deal Russia and Ukraine strike and how much land one keeps or the other. Do you know what's in the mineral? We keep calling it mineral rights. Titanium and lithium. Oh, who needs lithium? Oh, right, Tesla has lithium go in its batteries. Elon wants that lithium. So the deal that our Treasury Secretary pushed across the table to Zelensky when they were one-on-one and tried to bully him into signing was, we spent $100 or $200 billion in Ukraine. There's conflicting numbers. But look, we all want peace. We all want to stop spending that money. That's legitimate. The negotiations are perfectly
The American taxpayers are angry. All this money's going over there.
legitimate. The drive for peace, perfectly legitimate. He pushes across a deal for $500 billion in mineral rights. And here's the most important thing that American voters have to understand. Those minerals do not go to us, the American taxpayers, the American citizens. They go to American corporations. We are going to get $0 out of that. But Elon Musk is going to get fabulously even richer. He wants that lithium, and he doesn't care about Russia or Ukraine. So this is a robbery now. And that's why they're pressuring Zelensky instead of Putin.
Okay, Dave Smith, it's a robbery.
I think it's kind of gangster to try to strong arm Ukraine into giving us what really isn't rightfully ours. And it's kind of rightfully the people of Ukraine's. By the way, I say this not as a commie at all. So when I'm saying rightful, I don't mean the people own it or something. I mean whoever homesteaded it or something about Lockean property rights. But, there's been this major change in Donald Trump's rhetoric towards Zelensky. Through the campaign and through the very beginning of his administration, he would always just say he had a great relationship with him and he thinks he can get a deal done. Something there has changed for sure. But in terms of the stuff, look, if you're trying to negotiate a peace to this and you accept that we're not going to get the Biden-Nancy Pelosi pipe dream, which was always a pipe dream. Your brother was correct about that, Piers, that we were going to, repel Vladimir Putin from Crimea. This was all just ridiculous. And hundreds of thousands of people died in the pursuit of this unachievable policy. And if we can all accept that we're going to get some type of settlement here, that we're going to have to negotiate an end to this war, and that Ukraine isn't going to be able to defeat the Russians militarily, then obviously it makes absolutely no sense to sign on to these virtue signaling UN resolutions. It makes absolutely no sense for him to be just out there insulting Vladimir Putin, which seems to be the demand from so many progressive Democrats. Listen, it's not a question of whether you think Vladimir Putin is good or bad. And I would agree with you. I mean, me and you do not see eye to eye on this issue, Piers, but I agree. It's not accurate to say Zelensky started the war. There are many factors, but Vladimir Putin is the one who invaded the country. But the point is, if you have a hostage negotiation, if someone with a gun runs into a school and holds a bunch of kids hostage and you send in the negotiator, you don't start insulting the guy and just virtue signaling for no reason and talking about how terrible it is to hold kids hostage and what a monster he is and I'm such a better person than him.
And I think that's what Trump is doing here. He's not trying to do that, and he doesn't want to intimidate Putin or make him feel like he doesn't want to make him mad, basically. So I think that's why he's trying to fix with his allies in Ukraine, Zelensky, to see how they can fix this. I think this man has a point right here. Listen, guys.
I would never do anything like that. And the truth is, you do, in some cases, try to flatter the guy a little bit, try to get the best deal that you can get. You're trying to save lives here. And I'm not going to speculate like Cenk did on, I don't think this lithium's going to end up being turned over to Elon. And I think it's quite possible that Donald Trump does have some good motives here. And that the truth is that the Joe Biden's policy with regard to Ukraine is the most reckless policy in the history of the modern American policy in general. To be on a proxy war with the two countries with the 90% of the world's nuclear arsenal, to be in a proxy war over whether the Donbass region is ruled by Kiev or Moscow, never made any sense whatsoever. And there have been close calls all throughout this thing. If you think about the Nord Stream pipeline, where we made the attempt to blame that on Vladimir Putin, which was never true. If you think about those missiles that hit Poland, which were Ukrainian missiles, which Ukraine immediately said was Russia, there were very close calls here. If you study the history of the Cold War, we came very close to nuclear war on a couple different occasions. And so I'm sorry, if Donald